One of the things we wanted to continue to do as a church in this unique time is to continue to bring our services down to a more relatable level. We're not all here gathered, you're at your homes. And so we've even wanted to take advantage of some of our technology opportunities to engage in some different ways. Even with the governor's order this last week, we weren't able to then have as many people here this morning. And so we took the opportunity to leverage some technology to have an interview. And so I want to just intro this next clip you're going to see as an interview that I was able to do with my good friend Mike Gilpin, specifically talking about the reality of service in the realm of business. Because it's not just our Christian life that it's affected by this idea of selfishness to service. It affects all of what we do. And I'm excited for you to hear some of his thoughts on the idea of how in his line of work, this idea of service, servant leadership, is such an essential element of his business. Enjoy. Well, good morning, Rush Creek. Pastor Cam here, and we're excited to jump into a different kind of opportunity. We talked about last week wanting to, as our services become a bit more low-key and intimate in light of the fact that we're all at home right now, we likewise wanted to be able to experiment with a couple different ways of engaging our church family and bringing some technology and opportunities our way that could allow us to live into each other's lives. And so I'm excited to have Mike Gilpin joining me through our Zoom technology, and excited to have him share a little bit about this idea of moving from selfishness to service, especially in light of the idea of businesses. And so we'll get to that in a minute. But I wonder, Mike, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family and maybe even how you and your family came to be a part of the Rush Creek family.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. And my wife, Erin, and I have two kids, Benjamin and Addison. Benjamin is a 14-year-old. Addison is 12-year-old. And they go, normally they attend the Byron Center Public Schools. Currently they attend our home in Byron Center. So we moved back here. I originally was from Michigan, Aaron from Ohio, but we were living out in Eastern Pennsylvania and then moved back here to start a family business. And we started looking for some churches. And 14 years ago, we gave Rush Creek a try and got connected with a good second-hour class at the time, which turned into a small group. And we've been faithful attenders ever since and have been very blessed to be a part of this church.
Awesome. I love that. So specifically, the main reason why we're doing this interview right now is because we wanted to be able to focus a little bit on this idea of selfishness to service and really the importance of service in the business realm. I think that's a unique thing that's being impacted heavily right now in the wake of coronavirus. Is many of our small businesses, big businesses too, but certainly small businesses, especially those that are uniquely related to our Rush Creek family. And so I know you and your wife are owners and operators of a fast signs company, Store 467.
That's right.
And so I wonder if you could share maybe just the story of how you guys came to be in that position, and just what having a fast signs company means to you guys as a family.
Sure. So my dad and I have always had a good relationship, and there was a point where we were living out in Eastern Pennsylvania and I was running a small business out there, and then he was retired for the second time. And it was when Erin was 7 months pregnant with Benjamin that he called and said, "Hey, do you want to start up a family business?" And so
great timing.
Great timing. It was absolutely great timing. So as I looked over at Erin and she's drastically shaking her head left to right, no way, not a chance. We're not leaving to go open a business, number one, that with no customers, we didn't know much about the industry, and just in general, tons of uncertainty versus our current situation, which was very stable, a career on the rise.
Yeah.
Just a lot of security within what we were doing out in Eastern Pennsylvania. And so through a lot of prayer, we made the decision that we were going to make the jump and do this. But my family's philosophy was we weren't just doing it to have a small business. We were doing it to create a culture, to bring on people, to give them chances to develop their skills and find a way to give back to the community not just from our own family, but with our what would become our Fast Signs family. So those were some of the driving factors to get us to uproot and leave a very, very comfortable situation with an incredible church home and just so many wonderful things out in Pennsylvania, but decided to kind of take that tug on the heart and go try and start something special. And that was, we opened our doors November 7th, 2005. My parents have been retired for just over 2 years now. And so things are still strong and going well, at least in this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so one of the things that I love about some of the conversations I've had with you throughout the years as it relates to your business and your business philosophy is really this idea that your business, Fast Signs, is a means and an opportunity to build relationship and serve people, specifically your customers, rather than the opposite, rather than the idea that people and relationships and customers are a means by which to build my business and in essence, build profit margins. And so I wonder if you could just maybe speak to that philosophy, especially in the business world, of what it looks like lived out for this idea of really seeing our business as an opportunity to do the most important thing, which is love and serve people, especially our customers.
Sure. Yeah, we have a similar philosophy, but it's kind of broken into two different areas. One is the external customer and one's the internal customer, which is our team members. But for what you're talking about, that's part of our external customers. And one of the things that we look at and what we focus on is don't focus on the transaction or the product. Focus on the person behind the transaction or the product. So we can have people that are they may just be irrationally upset about something. And if we can show them kindness and grace and patience throughout that, we know that most likely they haven't had that type of experience from other people. We can be the ones that are a little different, or we can have someone that is joyous and we can share in that joy. But the focus, not just for myself, but our whole team and the culture we built, is that we really want to care for the person more than the product or the transaction. And it's very humbling to think that someone got up in the morning and we made it on their to-do list. For them to choose Fast Signs as part of their daily activity, whether it's ordering a sign, picking up a sign, coordinating some delivery, needing consultation, whatever it may be, we don't take that for granted. And we really want to be humble in the aspect of treating the person and their decision to do that more than the opportunity to make money off that transaction or that product.
Yeah. Well, and so I love that you broke that down. So that's the kind of the external side, but I know also something hugely important for you and Aaron specifically and your leadership team at Fast Signs is that internal part of it too. And the opportunity you have not just to serve as a team, the outside world, everybody outside of Fast Signs, but for you and Aaron and your leadership team to serve internally your staff, your team. So I wonder if you could speak even to that idea of business and service as it relates not just to the outside world for you guys, but internally as well.
Sure. So for us internally, the way I view it is we have 18 full-time team members, and those are my 18 top customers. They're all tied for number one. Any other large customers in the area, the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Whitecaps, the Steel Cases of the world, they all start at number 19. I love them dearly, and they are fantastic customers, but they are not more important than the 18 people that show up every day. So because of that, I also think of how do you treat your top customers, and you take the time to thank them, to appreciate them, to see what else they need. And really, that's how I try and treat our internal customers. If you picture a traditional org chart, you have the leader at the top, and then it stacks its way all the way down. And basically my philosophy is you take that org chart and just flip it upside down. And I'm at the bottom, they're at the top, and it's up to me to figure out how I can best serve them. And a lot of that stems through just a heartfelt call of Philippians 2, 3, and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. And that verse is big on my heart for many reasons. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the foundation of the philosophy of why we do what we do, in the manner in which we do it. So when that happens, then all kinds of cool stuff happens, because you get people just growing and developing and reaching potential beyond what they ever imagined. You get people encouraging others, and before you know it, you have a group of people that are holding their own book club group to grow as people. It's just exciting stuff once that philosophy kind of catches on, not just to myself, but the other leaders within the organization.
Absolutely. Well, and in essence, I mean, it's incredibly biblical practices and that are being able to be implemented in a business setting that aren't having to be explicitly biblical, and yet they're biblical by their very nature. And so one of the things I love is, even as you talked about that flipping of that org chart, is very much in essence this idea of servant leadership. And I know that servant leadership has been a huge thing for you in your philosophy of ministry, and it has been for us as Rush Creek as well. And some of the curriculum that our student team specifically has developed. So I wonder if you could just maybe speak a little bit to that idea of servant leadership, and both why it's meant so much to you, but maybe even how you intentionally engage in those ideas and practices of servant leadership for the benefit of both your internal team and your external community.
Sure. Case that was pulling together the curriculum for our church family in terms of servant leadership, I couldn't have been more excited, because man, when I think of our business and what happens with a bunch of servant leaders, I can't imagine the impact if our church was filled with these people, with a ton of people with this servant leadership mentality. So from that aspect, it was exciting. But in terms of why it's so important in that aspect, is it's just when you put others before yourself, they feel loved. And so for us, both the external and the internal customers, it's unbelievable how much they feel cared for and loved. And the main trick of it all to me is that it has to be authentic. It has to be real. So if you're a leader and you just want to act the part in order to make people feel good, it just doesn't work. People see through it. But that authentic care and love for those people, customers feel better about themselves. Employees grow in ways, again, that you would never think they could. So it's become an integral part of who we are, what we do. And, I like to look back and try and figure out how to apply my faith to the workplace. And for those of you in the secular business world, you may understand the struggle of sometimes it doesn't interweave from a sermon on a Sunday to a morning meeting on a Monday. And having this as a fabric of who I am and how I try and operate really helps kind of break those barriers between work and faith, or work and church, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I could sit here and chat servant leadership and the idea of service, especially in the business world, all day. But I just want to say thanks so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. Wish we could have done this in person on our stage on Sunday morning. But the reality of our world right now is one that, honestly, one of the best ways we can serve our people internally and externally is by staying home and staying safe to the best of our ability. So excited to be able to have technology like this to engage with one another, praying that the coronavirus situation can be resolved quickly so that businesses, especially like yours and many others, both in our church and beyond, can get back into the swing of things, hopefully with not too much financial discomfort and relational discomfort in the meantime. So we love you guys. We love the Gilpin clan, and we love Fast Signs 467. We're super thankful. They've done a ton of work around our church that we're just are super grateful for. And we just are honored to spend a little bit more time with you this morning, Mike. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it,
Matt. All right. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.